Welcome. Scott here. Today I am bringing you another Black Clover mobile video. In this video, I will be covering on the upcoming story Mage, Secre Swallowtail from the Black Bulls. In general, Secre is a technique attribute type supporter mage. Her key traits is her unique buff, sealing magic closed sorrow and the ability to apply barrier immunity and total silence mechanics. If you have her max enhancements, she will give a barrier buff to all allies that equate to 20% of her max HP whenever she takes her turn. This will make her one of the best mages in the game. Her unique buff sealing magic closed sorrow is a support buff that can be granted to the allies with her skill 2. Upon the unit taking damage while the buff is active, it will convert 100% of the damage taken received and convert it to a barrier buff for 2 turns. This will only activate if the attack doesn't kill the target. When the duration of the effects end, it will grant a HP recovery that equates to 50% of own HP. As we don't have the full details of the kit yet, the HP recovery could either scaled off Secre's own max HP or the buffed unit's max HP. Now let me give a quick overview on her skills. Before I start with her skills overview, it is worth noting that without max enhancements, her skills only give 60% probability of triggering the activation. Her skill 1 will inflict barrier immunity debuff on the target and grants the mage with highest all attack unit a SP +1 buff. Her skill 2 is a non-attacking ability that grants her unique buff and will remove any active barrier immunity debuff on the allies. If you have her skill page equipped, it will grant 30% reduced damage taken for the party. Her special is a single target ability which will inflict total silence on the target. Total silence will prevent the target from using their skill 2 and special ability. The ability will grant any attacker mage in the party a counter-attack buff and defense penetration level 3 buff for 2 turns. Her combo attack is another single target attack that will remove silence and total silence on her and her partner mage. With her passives, it helps to improve the party's survivability with barrier mechanics and enhanced her SP refill economy. Her LR passive will grant barrier immunity debuff on all enemies for a turn at the start of the battle. The barrier immunity will negate units have starting barrier buff like Ceremony Charlotte's barrier passive for the party when she is in a mono green team comp or Swimsuit Noelle's starting barrier buff with her LR +2 or level enhancements passive. At LR +2, she will gain a SP +3 buff when the duration of her sealing magic closed sorrow ends. At LR +5, when she takes her turn, she grant all allies a barrier buff that equates to 20% of her max HP for 2 turns. Her skill page is important for her as it will aid her in her SP refill economy and give a party-wide 30% damage reduction buff for the party when she uses her skill 2. To trigger the SP +1 buff, Secre needs to have an active barrier on herself. For gear sets, you should be using HP focused build to enhance her barrier buff that she gives. The ideal gear sets that you can consider is Advanced HP, Advanced Speed, Advanced Defense, and probably Abandoned Friends. So should I pull for her? In my opinion, there isn't a general consensus on whether to pull for a unit. It really depends on whether you are a free-to-play or having a vast roster already. When Secre joining the roster, she will open up a new variety of team comps to the current PvP meta. Without her enhancement passive, she will have limited use since her utility is just applying barrier immunity, damage reduction, total silence, and giving counter-attack to attacker allies. Generally, total silence and barrier immunity is very useful for PvP or PvE content like Tower of Adversity or the newly introduced monthly frame challenge content. With barrier immunity, she can prevent opposition teams from setting tanky barrier and silence mechanics to prevent opposition mage from using their hard-hitting abilities. Without her LR +5 passives or max enhancements, the only way you can get barrier buffs is via trigger of barrier mechanics when an ally is taking damage when her unique buff sealing magic closed sorrow is active or using barrier units like Kahano, Swimsuit Noelle, or raids. If you have managed to get her to her max enhancements, she will become one of the game's best mages. she will be giving a bulky barrier whenever she takes a turn while converting damage to barrier with her unique buff. In other words, there won't be decent budget builds for Secre to be dominant in PvP. Before I proceed to talk about her kit, let me briefly explain the fundamentals of building a good team comp. In general, every good team comp needs a balanced set of characters playing their various roles. To be honest, bringing a full team of attacker mages won't get you to clear endgame content. Don't expect Secre to do a lot of damage with her skills. Her key utility is to boosting your party survivability with her barrier buff, silence mechanics and damage mitigation via her skill 2. To upgrade the skills, you need to use wool shards. Wool shards can be bought at the world regional shops monthly. If you upgrade your world reputation to level 2, you will unlock the option to buy the highest tier upgrade material. If you haven't done so, I will suggest you to start leveling up the reputation level by doing bond patrol or memory hall fights for that specific world. You can also get skills upgrade materials at your squad shop if you have joined a squad. You can buy them daily with guild medals. So try to level up and join a guild. If you have spending power, you can buy skills enhancement chests at the premium Black Crystal shop. Now let me go through her skill set. Her skill 1 Sealing Magic Bullet is a single target attack which has a 60% chance of inflicting barrier immunity on the target for 2 turns. It will also grant SP +1 buff to the ally with the highest all attack mage. Enhancing the skill will improve the probability of her barrier immunity debuff activation. Maxing out the skill enhancements will guarantee the activation. Her skill 2 Sealing Recovery Magic, Closed Sorrow is an AoE support ability that has 60% chance of granting her unique buff, Sealing Magic Closed Sorrow for 2 turns. Her unique buff Sealing Magic Closed Sorrow is a support buff that can be granted to the allies with her skill 2. Upon the unit taking damage while the buff is active, it will convert 100% of the damage taken received and convert it to a barrier buff for 2 turns. This will only activate if the attack doesn't kill the target. When the duration of the effects end, it will grant a HP recovery that equates to 50% of own HP. As we don't have the full details of the kit yet, the HP recovery could either scaled off Secre's own max HP or the buffed unit's max HP. The ability will also remove any active barrier immunity debuff on the party. If you have her skill page, the ability will also grant the party 30% reduced damage taken buff for 2 turns. Like most other skill 2 for supporter mages, it has a 3-turn cooldown. Enhancing the skill will improve the probability of her buff activation. Maxing out the skill enhancements will guarantee the activation. Her special Sealing Magic, Eternal Prison is a single target attacking ability that has a 60% chance of inflicting total silence on the target for 2 turns. The ability will also grant all attacker mages in the party the following 2 buffs for 2 turns, a counter-attack buff and defense penetration level 3 buff. Total silence will prevent the target from using its special and skill 2 as long as it is active. Enhancing the skill will improve the probability of her total silence activation. Maxing out the skill enhancements will guarantee the activation. Her combined attack is a single target attack with the partner mage and removes any active silence and total silence on both the partnered mage and herself. Enhancing the skills will only improve the skill's damage potencies. Her kit is mainly designed for PvP content and against opponents that relies on barrier. If you have her with her max enhancements, she will become the game's best barrier defensive support in the game who controlling the tide of the battle with her destructive Sealing Magic. She is a high investment mage as you will want to max out her key abilities for the guaranteed activation. Now let's cover on her skill page. Her skill page is another skill page that benefits to supporter mages that give barriers. It allows the supporter mage to have a 25% chance to gaining a SP +1 buff. Fully enhance the skill page will increase the probability of SP +1 buff activation to 100%. Unless you have big spending power, I won't recommend you to chase too hard for dupes of the skill page. You can end up hurting your resources to pull for the upcoming units. If you don't have her skill page, you can use other skill pages that boost her utility. As applicable with any supporter mages, for skill page replacement, you can use Sally's skill page to provide that awesome increased all attack buff, William's skill page for a small passive heal, or using the SR Vanessa's skill page to give damage resistance buff for the lowest HP ally. You can also use generic skill page like the Moonlight Necklace to boost his own defense. Just keep in mind, without her skill page, you will missing the 30% damage taken reduction buff, which will be very useful in fighting opposition hard-hitting attackers. Now let's cover on her talents. To understand what is the best talent settings, you need to know what is the mage's primary role. Secre is an defense-oriented supporter with disruptive mechanics. For her attack talent wheel, I would suggest giving her increased battle frenzy and increased magic attack. Increased magic attack will increase her magic attack stats by 7%. For the other talent, battle frenzy will be the better option since it allows her to gain 2.5% increased critical rate buff that could stack up to 5 times. For the talent carved stone, I would suggest you give her the accuracy talent stone. As her main role is a defense support mage, the accuracy stone will helps a lot. For the defense talent wheel, I recommend you to go for the endurance defensive talent, which gives her 4% defense and 2% critical resistance, up to 5 times per wave, along with increased max HP that boost her max HP by 5%. For the carved stone, you will want to give her the defense talent carved stone. In the support talent wheel, you will have a wide variety of options like one shown on the screen. Increased damage resistance will result Secre to improve her damage resistance by 10%. Mage Blessing allows her to have a 20% chance of cool down her skill 2. This will help a lot in ensuring Secre will be able to use her skill 2 more frequently to upkeep her unique buff. It is worth noting that her skill 2 has a long cooldown of 3 turns. You can also use Swiftness, which grants her a SP +1 buff upon having less than 2 SP at the start of her turn. This is good when you are not using any SP refiller mages with her in the party. Examples of SP refiller mages are Ceremony Charlotte, Valkyrie Armor Noelle, or Party Mimosa. Personally, I will pair increased damage resistance with Mage Blessing so that Secre can use her skill 2 faster to upkeep the important 30% reduced damage taken buff for the party. Even though having her unique buff can boost her SP or give the party member a HP recovery, it is still better to ensure her barrier buff remains intact. You can also opt to use increased accuracy and penetration to enhance her damage potencies. Penetration stats is good for attackers. Whenever your mage attacks, a certain portion of the target's defense is ignored when damage is dealt based on the character's penetration stat. On the other hand, accuracy will helps to boost Secre's survivability as it allows her to have higher chance of damage reduction activation. If you use a mage who can provide total defense like Black Asta, Fate of Thread Vanessa, or Clover Academy Charlotte, you can go with Resolution with increased accuracy and penetration talent instead. When total defense buff is active with this support talent, Secre will be immune to debuffs. As speed is an important stat for Secre to use her skills to apply her barrier block and total silence, it is highly recommended to max out her support talent wheel so you can engrave a speed stone. Now let's focus on her gear sets. Generally, you want to target for advanced gear sets pieces. If you don't have her max enhancements, you want to use the full advanced speed set with the small attack and defense piece from the advanced defense set. Speed is important for PvP and to boost Secre's ability to apply her key negation debuffs while upkeeping her unique buff. If Secre don't have her turns to use her buffs, you will still get killed anyway. The set can be farmed at the Red Power Gear dungeon. You can also opt to use a full defense build of giving her gear sets using the advanced HP, advanced defense, and advanced speed gear pieces. If you are able to clear advanced gear dungeon, there is a gear set called the Millionaire's Luxury item which will help to boost Secre's speed by 55% if you have equipped a full set on her. This will help a lot in getting Secre the turns she needs in order to constantly applying her barrier immunity debuff and silence. If you have her max enhancements, which you should be targeting if you are intending to use her for long term, you should target to build a HP focused gear set. The rationale for doing this is because her barrier stats will scales off her max HP. So the higher HP that Secre has, the bigger the barrier buff she will give whenever she takes her turn. The gear pieces can be the combination of using advanced speed and advanced HP. For the last gear synergy, you can use either advanced defense or abandoned friends gear set. For substats, you should prioritize on HP percent, defense percent, critical resistance percent and damage resistance or accuracy substats. In general, any substats that helps to boost her survivability will be good. You can also further boost her survivability by equipping her with defense or HP main stats accessories. So what are the team comps that you can run with Secre? It is worth noting that all these suggested team comps are with Secre having her max enhancements in mind. If you don't have her max enhancements, you will be missing out on the massive barrier buff that she gives whenever she takes her turn. First of all, let me cover her team comp with the game's anniversary festival mage, Lumiere. If you have Lumiere's LR+2 or level 2 enhancement passive, Secre will complement really well with her barrier-oriented support mechanics. The more barriers that Lumiere gets, the more damage mitigation buff that he will get. They should also be paired as partners so you can have Secre uses her combo to remove any silence or total silence effect in the event if Lumiere gets silenced. Once Lumiere takes his first turn, it is most likely the current PvP threat Black Divider Asta will be gone. For the other two mages, you can either use Ceremony Charlotte or Party Mimosa for SP refill utility. They are next best available SP refiller mages since you cannot use Valkyrie Noel in the team comp due to Lumiere's LR passive that will only be activated if he is the sole Harmony unit in the team comp. Personally, I prefer Ceremony Charlotte over Party Mimosa because her skill 2 can give the important status ailment immunity to prevent Lumiere or Secre getting stun status ailment. For the last member, you can bring a unit with utility support or damage dealer like Black Asta, Fire Spirit Fuego Leon, Black Divider Asta, or Third Iria. Black Asta should be the best fourth member if you have him with his max enhancements since he will give the status ailment immunity to the party at the start of the wave. Black Asta skill 2 also gives the party total defense buff which you can pair with the resolution support talent passive for everyone in the party to block debuffs. With Secre joining the roster as a disruptor with her barrier immunity and total silence unit, you can pair her with Secret Agent Vanessa, who will give total silence at the start of wave if she is being deployed in a rainbow team comp. Paired with Secre, Vanessa can drain off SP of the opposition party mage, reduce mobility of key opposition mages and disarming them. The fourth member needs to be either a green or red unit. Options include Black Asta, Clover Academy Rill and Dorothy for red units while Ceremony Charlotte, Despair Veto, Party Mimosa, or Mirioliana for green. For non-Lumiere team comps, Secre should works pretty well with Mono Blue or Mono 3 with blue unit setups. You need to use Zara for his awesome traps mechanics and of course his important immortality removal combo attack to counter against the Black Divider Asta. For the attacker, Third Iria, Ceremony Luck, or Julius can be used as the attacker for the party. With the introduction of Secre, Third Iria will be the most beneficial of the trio because of his max enhancement passives. His max enhancement passives will allows him to gain a 15% reduced damage taken buff and 40% increased critical rate as long as counter attack buff is active on him. We will probably get more units which could apply electrocute continuous damage units. When a unit has 3 stacks of electrocute, it will trigger overcurrent which drain all of the target's SP when the unit takes its turn. The last member will be Party William for his awesome damage mitigation support with counter-attack. He can also support Secre for barrier immunity debuff with his skill 2. If you have his skill page highly enhanced, his passive heal will ensure the party survival. For Mono 3 setup, you can use one of the Harmony mages, Spatial Mage Finral for speed nuke or Grey for fighting heavy damage over time opposition team comps. Or you can just use the ever meta present Valkyrie Noelle for her awesome absolute territory buff. Secre also works well with the recent festival Mage, Fire Spirit Fuego Leon with her barrier support and damage mitigation. You can have Fire Spirit Fuego Leon taunt lock Black Divider Asta or key opposition supporter mages with his skill 1 that will reapply taunt on his counter attack. Valkyrie Noelle will be the best support mage for Salamander Fuego Leon due to her awesome absolute territory that gives SP +2 buff and status ailment immunity for the party. She can also ensure Fuego Leon safe with the combo attack. The combo will apply 3 stacks of burn on the target while giving Fuego Leon invulnerability buff. For the last member, you can either use a supporter mage like Ceremony Charlotte or healer mage like Party Mimosa. With this, I have come to the end of the video. If you like the video, please give a like. Please subscribe to the channel so that I can bring you more content in the future. Have a nice day and bye.